In this section, I'm going to demonstrate the installation of the DHCP server service. I'm going to pull up my Server Manager console. In Server Manager, I'm going to select Add Roles and Features here on the dashboard. This dashboard in Server Manager is an overview of many of the most common tools you would actually use. Add Roles and Features here would let me install the DHCP service. I can also click Manage, and there's an Add Roles and Features here. Either one will carry you to the same place, but under Manage, there is also a Remove Roles and Features if I ever had the need to uninstall any of these services. So we will just select Add Roles and Features. In this Before You Begin, I'm going to click Next. We are installing a role, so we will leave the default selected here. I'm going to choose Next. This is the machine that I am going to install DHCP on, my RTS-DC1, so I will leave that selected and choose Next. In the roles, DHCP server is in the list. I'm going to check that, and it tells me I'm also required to install these additional role services, the remote server administration tools for DHCP. This is the graphical tool that we will use to manage the DHCP service. For that, we will click Add Features. Next in the window. On the features itself, we are not selecting anything, so I will leave that as default and click Next. Some things to note. It tells us you should configure at least one static IP address on this computer. A DHCP server cannot have a dynamically assigned IP address. It cannot lease an IP address to itself or lease an IP address from another DHCP server. So we must configure a static IP address on this computer. My server already has a static IP address, so that I don't have to configure. The last bullet says, before you install DHCP server, you should plan your subnets, scopes, exclusions, store the plan in a safe place for later reference. That simply means I should have planned out the configuration for this server ahead of time. I'm going to select Next for that. On the Confirm Installations, I'm just going to click Install. Notice at the top there is Restart the destination server automatically if required. If I installed a role or a feature that required a reboot of the machine, I would leave that checked. A service like BitLocker, if I load that feature, it requires the machine to be restarted, so I would always want to check this. I know that DHCP does not require a restart, so I'm going to leave that blank and just click Install. That'll take just a moment, and the DHCP service will have installed. It also gives me this option to complete the DHCP configuration. I can select that here, or if you were to close this window and not think about that, I could go back to this Notifications in Server Manager. I have this warning notification. If I select that, there's an option to complete DHCP configuration. This will do two things. First, it will create the following security groups: DHCP administrators and DHCP users. DHCP administrators have full control over the DHCP service, not over the entire server itself, but specifically over the DHCP service. So they can create scopes, records, all the things we talk about in this section, they will have the ability to do. DHCP users. If you are a member of that group, you have read-only access to the DHCP console. This will also authorize the DHCP server. For DHCP to lease an IP address, the server must be authorized in Active Directory. The goal of this is to prevent rogue DHCP servers. If your DHCP server is in a flat network in a work group, there is no authorization. So this authorization only applies if you are joined to a domain. I will choose Next for that. I will authorize this using my RTS/administrator credentials. It says that is done. Security groups have been created. Server has been authorized. Now that DHCP is installed, if I were to go to Administrative Tools, I have DHCP in the list, and in Server Manager, I also have the DHCP server group that shows up here that will list my one server that has DHCP installed. In the next section, we'll take a look at configuring the DHCP server.